Hi, in this Unity tutorial, we're going to try to make a boxer, a fighter, in a 2D game. All right, and for that boxer, we're going to add some bones in there to do the animation, and we're going to be able to punch a bag. So let me press play here to show the end result of what we're going to try to do in this tutorial. So the first animation that's playing is idle animation, and then I can move forward and backward, and I could also punch, and unless I hit the bag, you won't hear a sound. And then I could kick or punch. Now notice when I kick and punch, I hit the bag. But if I move forward, I go and I do not hit the bag. So there's also another thing going on here that the collision detection only happens when I do the punch. And it's only on that hand and the foot when the attack's happening. So how do we do this? That's what we're going to do next. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I made a new scene so we could all start together. And I also came up with a plan of how I'm going to make this fighter. So I have a list here of the things I need. One of the first things I need is a transparent background sprite where the body parts are drawn detached. So an example of what I want for a sprite to use is something like the sprite from the demonstration here, where the body parts are detached and the drawing is kind of like made so that he's facing sideways. See, the feet and the hands and the face are facing sideways. And that way it's a 2D game and he's facing the thing he's going to hit. Okay, so to do this, I kind of looked for something free because that's one of my goals here is that all the tools we use are free at Omar Vision. And I found something that works and it's called drawisland.com. And this is what the software looks like. And it runs right in the browser. So you don't have to download and you don't have to install anything. So when it comes up, let me just see, it would be something like, let me delete what I have here. And okay, good. When it comes up, you can pick the size of your drawing area. This is in pixels. And if you don't want one of those default sizes, you could type in a size here. So let's say 512 by 512 and then submit. And then you will get a window to draw in, which is that size. Now, down here at the bottom, this is one of the things that the tool that I'm going to draw my sprites with needs. It needs to be able to do a transparent background. And that's why Microsoft Paint won't be able to do the job for us. So here, I could click yes for a transparent background. And that, now when I draw, let's draw something to use. I can control the size of my drawing pencil and the color. So let's pick the head color. There we go. And now I could draw a head here somewhere. So I kind of will draw, I'm not a best drawer in the world, and I'm drawing with a mouse. And I'll kind of give it a nose here to show he's facing this way. Then I want to draw some eyeballs here. That helps show that he is looking this way. So I'll have one and maybe two. And then let's put some pupils in there. So maybe make it a little bit smaller. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Okay, so we got a head. Then let's make a body. All right, so it's a boxer, so he's probably wearing shorts. So that's the head. Maybe I want to add a little bit of a neck, so when I connect to the body, we could have it look like it's connecting to the body. So there's his neck. Then for the body, I could draw something like this, I guess. And all right, and I guess maybe let me use a thin line here to try to emphasize that. All right, this is chest. I don't know. And this is his belly, and it's facing, that way. Okay. Then I could draw some boxing shorts real fast, purple boxing shorts, and that I will also draw detached. Oh, let me make the line fatter. Oh man, it's kind of connected a little bit, but I guess it'll work out. And now let me draw the legs. I guess I'll draw one leg here and one leg there, and the leg's going to be facing this way. So the top of the legs will be the shorts, right? And I guess I could do that over here too for this leg. The top of the leg is going to be like the shorts, and then he's wearing his skinny little legs here. Okay, and he's wearing shoes, so let's give him some shoes here. Oh, let me just fix this up because the shorts should be going over the pants. Let me draw like that, and let me just draw the shoes. Let's give him some orange shoes. Yeah, orange. Let's not be too picky here. And the shoes will be facing that way. Okay. So that's the legs, and now we just need the arms. So let me go back to the skin color. And let's see, we got shoulder, bicep, and the elbow, and then a fist. We got shoulder, this, and then a fist. And I guess I could do a little bit of detail there to show where the thumb is. So let me get this really thin again. Boop. And the thumb over here. That's this hand. So my thumb is on top of the fingers. Okay, and then I'll just have the fingers. Okay, like that. And on this side, it would be the fingers. 2, 3, and then the thumb behind it. All right, so let's leave it at that. And he's going to be bald. So now I have the sprite, and now I could do a save. And I'll save it to my desktop. And I'll just call this Boxer. Enter. And then I could put this away. So now I come back to my new empty scene. And I take the Boxer sprite, which you see has transparent background because you can see right through the thumbnail there. And I drag that into my scene. So here I have the Boxer. I'm going to click on the sprite in the assets window, and I'm going to do now step 2. I'm going to add the skeletal bones. So the bones, I have to select the Boxer and then click on Sprite Editor. And then over here in the Sprite Editor menu on the top, I can pick Bone Editor and Skin Weights and Geometry Editor. If you don't see these two menu options, don't panic. It just means you have to install the package. So to install the proper package, which is the 2D animation package, you just go up to your Unity window menu and you click Package Manager. And then over here, if you don't have the package installed, it won't show in project packages. But if you click All Packages, you can pick it from the All Packages and click the Install button. So for example, 2DIK, I don't have it. If I click on it, I could click the Install button and it would add it in my packages. So just do that for the 2D animation, click Install, give it a second, and you'll have your package installed. And then you can go back to clicking on the sprite in the asset window and click on the sprite editor button, okay? And that'll bring you back here. And now what I want to do is I want to add the bones. So I'm going to click first Sprite Editor, Bone Editor. And then down in the bottom here, I have a little menu, and I'm basically going to use these first two types, the Create Connected Bones and Create Free Bones. So I'm going to start off with the Create Connected Bones. And there, I'm going to start from the hip, and I'm going to go up, and I'll let go. Then I'll click. That starts another bone that's connected, and I'll go into his, right about here, and then maybe make another bone here. Okay, and then I'll have one for his head. All right, so I had the bones going, whoops, and then I don't want another bone, so I'll right click to stop the chain of bones. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, right up to his head. Now we want to add some bones to these parts, but these parts are going to correspond to something in the body. So These legs are going to correspond to this bone, so first I'll select it, and then I'll click the free bone, and now this yellow line appears. So I could add one bone over here, and that's my bone that's going to actually associate from the hip to that side. And I still have the yellow line going, so I'm going to go over here and add another bone on this side and go down to what I consider the knee. Click. Okay, now I could just click this bone and add a connected bone to go down into his foot and out to his foot. Then right click, and then do it on the other side. Connected bone, go down to his foot, and then out to his foot, his toes. Then right click. Good, so now we got the legs kind of skeletaled out. Now we want to do the arms. So I'd say the arms would correspond to this bone over here in the chest. So I'll select that bone and then free bone. That comes from the shoulder to the elbow. And another free bone that goes from the shoulder to the elbow. And then right click. Now I could add my connected bones from the elbow down to the hand. Just keep it simple. And then over here, another connected bone from the elbow down to the hand. And right click. All right, so now I have all my bones in there. I'm going to press apply. So the bones are overlaid over the sprite, but they're not going to affect the sprite yet. For that, I have to do my next step, geometry and weights. So geometry is going to kind of make a mesh around the sprite. So from geometry and weights, geometry selected, then click generate. And what I'll do is the outline detail is how fine an outline it goes around the sprite. So I'll just move all of these up a little bit and see what happens. Okay, and then I'll say generate. And see, the outline is how well it matches the outline of the sprite. The alpha tolerance is how well it detects change in color for it to, make a different section. But this looks pretty good. The subdivide are how many points inside the area of the sprite. But this is good because each sprite and body part has their own separate section, and that's why I had the body parts drawn separately and detached. So this geometry, I like it. I'm going to press apply. And then now I have to associate the geometry to the bones, and we do that with weights. So I click the weights button here, and right now everything's black because none of the bones are associated with any of the geometry. Now luckily here in Unity we have an auto button, so we're going to press auto. And it works out pretty nicely. The color of the bone and the color of the drawing in the background says what bone affects what. So this yellow bone is going to affect these sprites here, this green one's affecting these, and that's how you could read what's going on here. And I'm satisfied with this. I'm going to press apply. Now let me go back to the weights window again by clicking weights. Before I leave here, I want to make sure that when these sprite parts are drawn, if I kind of move the arm here over the body, I want to make sure the arm is drawn behind the body. So by default, all these bones are at a layer of 0. So if I click this arm bone here, you'll see that the bone depth is 0. They're all 0. Okay, but if I want one bone area to be drawn behind another, I just have to decrease the value. So for these bones, I'm going to make them -1 on the arm. For all the bones on the arm, I'll make them -1. And when they would draw and overlap, the arm would be behind the body and the head and everything. And I'll do the same thing for this leg. Let me select the leg. And I'll make it -1. And select this one and make it -1. And select the foot and make it -1. Okay, so just the way these would be drawn behind the body, I want this arm and leg to be drawn in front of the body. So what do you think I'm going to do? Instead of -1 to make it further away from me, I'm going to increase the number on these bones and make it 1. and 1, and over here a 1, and over here a 1, and over here a 1. Then I say apply for everything, and I could close my sprite window because I've basically added the bones to my sprite over here. So now if I drag the sprite into the window, of course his body parts are all mismatched, but now that I dragged them into the window, I have a game object. So let me zoom in, and we see that the bones aren't showing here yet. That's because there's one last step that we need to do. Now that we have a game object, we're going to have to add a certain script from the 2D animation package. And the easiest way to do that is to type in the word skin in this search bar here, and it's going to search all my assets and packages and everything for anything with the name skin. And right here we can see we have sprite skin, a C# script. So I'm going to click that as something to add, and there you go, it adds it in. So now I have the sprite skin script, and all I have to do is press this button, create bones, and now we can see the bones that are on the body. They're just kind of out of place, so we'll put them in place here. We'll just drag this bone and put it there. We'll drag this bone and put it there. Here we'll drag it and put it in its proper place, and this one we'll put it in its proper place. So now, and you know what, we could take this bone right here and from the base we could move him in. Nah, his neck's going to be disconnected because those are connected bones. All right, so we got like our fighter and his body bones are in the position we want. So now I could take the boxer game object, make sure you select it from the root, and I could drag and drop it to make it a prefab. So the prefab is always going to have the bones in this position. This is going to be the position of the bones, okay, where his body parts are kind of put back together. But now you can see that the bones work. They're actually moving the body parts in directions we want. You know what? Since he's a boxer, I should have him like with his hands up. I should have him with his hands up. Okay. And let's see that there, his hands up. Boom. All right. There you go. That's my thing. Let me save that as the prefab. So go back to the root and say apply. And we got a boxer. Now let's see what we have to do next. We got the sprite, we got the skeletal bones put in. Now our next step, we're going to make some animations for idle, punch, and kick. That's 3 animations we want to make. So we're going to use the animation keyframe window. So the way you get to that window is first let me select the boxer, then I'm going to go to window, animation, and I'm going to pick the animation window, okay? And with my boxer selected and the animation window, it says to begin animating boxer, create an animator and an animation clip. I just got to press create. So let me press create, and it's going to ask me for the file name that I want to save this animation as. So I'll call it boxer idle. Okay, maybe make a space there, boxer idle, and save it. And right there you can see this is the name of the animation that I could work on in these keyframes, boxer idle. So the way I kind of define the keyframes is I press on the record button, and then I pick a position in the keyframes and change the poses. So at position 0, I leave him like this. Then I'll move up a little bit in time. And here I want him to kind of bounce up and down for the idle animation. So I'll select his hip bone, which will move his whole body. Now let me just recall where his feet are in the position of this grid. He's going to go up like this, and still so that he's on the ground there. He's kind of going to go up on his toes, and then he'll come back down to his original position, which I could just copy these cells, Control C, and then paste them over here, Control V. So now let's see how that looks if I just scrub the top. Okay, and I could also just press play. So he's going kind of too fast, but that's fine. All I have to do is select all the cells that I want to change the time for, and I get these two bars. And I'll just drag out the time to last, this long instead. And let me see how it moves now. A little bit fast, I think still. So I'll just drag it out a little further. Maybe to this for a comfortable bounce speed. Yeah, that's good. So this could be his idle animation. So I'll turn off the record button. And now I want to make the second animation, which is a punching animation with this hand over here. So let me just set up for a new clip. And then it's going to ask me for a name. So I'll say boxer, punch, enter. And now for this, I could turn on the record. You notice that the position of the boxer reset back to his default position. So the punch, when he punches, I want to step lunge forward a little bit. So let me just go here, and remember where his foot is. It's right there at the back of this line. But when he punches, his body's going to lean forward a little. But I want to make sure his foot stays back there on that line. Okay, leans forward. Maybe his foot steps forward a little bit. And, okay, he's going to step forward. So this will be like a halfway point here where his knee comes up. He's going to take that little step forward. And he's cocking in his hand, getting ready to punch. Okay. Just playing around here. And then, so he cocks in, and then his foot's going to step out. Boom, and when his foot lands on the ground, then that's when his punch is going to come out. When you pick the right bone, his punch is going to come out. I think his body's going to lean forward a little bit for this to reach in for it. Punch is going to come out, and I get good reach here, good reach. Boom. Maybe this hand cocks back a little when he throws that punch. Like, yeah. Head tilting. All right, so let's see how that looks. Oh, boom. Okay, good enough. And then after that, he should just go in reverse to come back to his position he was in. So then he should come back with his foot. So I'm going to copy this, Control C, and put that here, Control V. And then after that, he should totally come back to where he started, Control C and Control V. So let's scrub this over and see how it looks. Boom, 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 boom. Let me press play. Boom, 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 boom. Let's get the punch out faster. So I'll select these cells here. And for their time, I'll just move them a little bit faster. He's quick to the punch. Bam. And then he comes and recovers afterward. Slowly. It's like bam. Okay. And let's see how that looks. Boom, 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 boom. All together, he's still moving too fast. Let me select everything and stretch out the time to 30.3. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, I like that. So I can turn off record. And now the last animation we gotta do is, oopsie, that's not the window. Let's see, the last animation we got is the kick. All right, so let's add a new one, create new clip, and I'll call it boxer kick. Yeah, it's a kickboxer, people. Okay, turn on the record, and let's see from here, he will, once again, he's gonna kind of like lean forward. His body. He's gonna get ready, and he gets ready, and then now his foot will come out for the kick. Do this here like this, so your even leans even forward even more. Oh. Like a flying kick almost here. And kapow. Okay. See, so he's like, whoosh, and then you can go backwards. Control C, Control V. And then even further backwards, Control C so that it loops around. Control V. Let's see how that looks. Well, bam. And then he starts coming back. Well, bam. Well, bam. All right, so let's get the timing here. He's going to be fast to the attack. So move these over here. And then, yeah, he'll hold it out there for a while, and then he'll come back down and put his foot down. So let's play. Bam, 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 bam. Let's slow it down. Stretch out the time a little more. Well, it's a kick. It's more powerful. Let's make it take longer. So another 1/10 of a second. Bam, 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 bam. Too slow, too slow. 3, 5. Bam, 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 bam. That looks good. So now I got my 3 animations. Okay. So these 3 animations, what did they do back in my project window, in my assets window? They made the 3 animations themselves. So each one of those keyframe datas are saved in a file here. And then they made an animation controller. The animation controller's job is to say which animation to play from my boxer. So let me select the root of my boxer, and I'll see that it did add an animator component, The animator component takes a animation controller, which is this here, boop, dragged and dropped right there. All right, so if I press play, what's going to happen now that I've created these 3 animations? If I press play, he does the idle animation. Now, why is he deciding to do that? Let's look at the animation controller by double-clicking on it. And it opens up here, and it's kind of like a graph with some buttons. So this green button is called the entry state. So when you press the game start, this is when you press start on the game, and the first line that it goes to is boxer idle. And that's to play the idle animation. So let me just position these boxes a little differently. I could also just zoom in and out with my mouse wheel, if it doesn't fit on your screen. So the one that's orange is the default animation. If I pick this one and say set as default, then when I press play, punch is going to be the default animation. And I press play, and let's see if that happens. Punch, punch, punch. Yep. And punch is the default animation. And you notice the animation just keeps playing over and over and over. It loops, so to say. So the idle animation, let's set that back to default. If we look at the idle animation by clicking over here, we'll see that it's set to loop. And we do want it to loop. If the boxer's idling, we just want him to keep playing that over and over, just getting ready. Then for the punch and the kick, those, when we play the animation for the punch, we just want it to happen one time. So I'm going to take off loop. And on kick, I'm going to take off loop on those 2 animations. When they play, they'll just play once. So now how do we control, to change from playing idle to a punch? We're going to have to make one of these lines. These lines are called transitions. So on boxer idle, I'll right click and I'll say make transition, and then I'll drag and drop on boxer punch. So this is the way it's going to go. It's going to go over here, play boxer idle, and then play boxer punch. Let me press play. So it'll idle, 1, and then it punches. So the idle played one time, even though it was set to loop. It plays one time and then goes directly to punch. What we want to do is have it go to punch when we want it to go to punch, when we say. So what we're going to use is something called a parameter. So I'm going to add a parameter here, and there's different types. I'm just going to add a trigger parameter. So it's like when I press a button, it sets off a trigger. And I'm going to call this one punch. Okay. And right now it's set to off. So now if I press play, it should come to Boxer I. Oops, he still went to that because I made the parameter, but I didn't use it. So here I made a trigger parameter called punch, and now I want to apply that parameter to this transition state. So I'm going to select the transition state, and now I have some details here like conditions. So I'm going to add a condition, and the condition, well, I only have one parameter right now, is punch. So if the punch trigger fires off, then the transition will happen. Now I'm going to press play. Okay, so you see it's doing the idle animation, and it waits until I set the punch trigger. Boom, and it does one punch, because remember, the punch animation plays one time, but then it stops. It doesn't go back to idle. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to make another transition from boxer back to idle. And let's see what happens now. If I press play, let me take off the trigger. The trigger was on. Let me take it off. Okay, trigger's off. He's idling. Then I click the trigger, and he punches. Now you probably don't notice it. It's very subtle, but he punches after the idle animation plays one time. So the idle animation is looping like him going up and down. And I want him to punch right away. I don't want the idle animation to go up and down and then do the punch. I want it to be right when I press the trigger that he does the punch. So in the transition from boxer to punch, there's a setting called has as exit time. So all I have to do is uncheck that. And that means exactly when I press punch, he will exactly stop the animation in the idle. It doesn't matter what frames he's up to, and he'll do the punch. So it's very subtle, but look at this. If I just play now, and if you're watching, he's going up and down. But as soon as I press that, he does a punch, and then he goes back. So that's more like what I want. So now we did that for the punch. Now let's do the same thing for kick. So what do we have to do? First, we add a trigger parameter, and we'll call it kick. Then we take that trigger parameter, and we're going to use it in the transition that we're going to make from idle to kick. Okay, select the transition, and then add the condition of the kick trigger. Okay, and when it goes to kick, we don't want it to wait for the idle animation to finish playing. We just want it to immediately go, so uncheck that. And then after it plays the kick animation one time, because we set it to not to loop, then we make a transition to go back to idle. Okay, so now we have our animation controller set up where we have two parameters controlling which animation plays. Okay, so we were controlling it from the Unity editor. What we want to do is control it from some C# script that we put on the boxer. Okay, so now we're going to select our boxer, and we're going to add a script. Here is the script that I've already typed from the demo that we saw, and we're going to add that script, the fighter script. So I drag and drop it, and I add the fighter script. And there's a couple of things it wants to know. So this fighter script is going to let us move him back and forth. And there's a min and max position back and forth that he can move. Then it's going to want to know what the punch bone name is. So let's see, this is the punch bone right here. And that's bone 13. And it's going to want to know what the kick bone is. So that's going to be this foot right here. That's bone 7. So bone 13 and bone 7. So let's just tell it there that the punch bone is bone, I already forgot. I got to select it again. This is bone 13. Punch bone is bone 13. So I'll tell it that the punch bone is bone 13. And the kick bone is bone 7, yeah? Yep, bone 7. And the kick bone is bone 7. There you go. Now about this back and forth thing, I guess that's like for the area of the window here, and I could add some more sprites in here for some scenery here. I'm going to add the ring background, and I could stretch that out. I just use this tool for 2D, and stretch it over. And then I'm going to add a boxing bag. And I can make that bigger. Yeah, that's a bigger boxing bag. Here you go. Something that you could kick and punch, right? And let me just move it up a little there. Okay, boxing bag's all the way over here. All right, so now when it talks about the min and max position, that's how much the boxer can move back and forth that I want to track. So here he is in the back position. Let's see what that transform value is. That's minus 4.8. And then in the forward position, that's 4.7. Okay, so I'll say for his min is minus 4.8, and I'll say for his max is 4.7. Let me just press play and see what happens here. So he's bobbing up and down. Let me look at the game window there. And I can use the arrow keys to move forward and back. And right now there's no collision detection going on. And then I can press the Alt and Control. Alt for punch, and the kick button is Control. Okay? And there's no collision happening yet. But I got the bones, I got the animation. So in my steps here, I finished making the animations, and I could control the animations that play. So now the second, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth thing now is to add in the colliders. Okay? So we're going to do that in the next video.